Happy Friday. Happy Friday. You are listening to the She Heals Radio Show on Awesome God Radio. I am your host, Whitney J. It is Friday, June 26th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We have an amazing show for you today. Shout out to super producer Q for always producing amazing shows. We love you. Shout out to my Awesome God Radio family. If you are tuning in on the Awesome God Radio app, thank you so much. If you have not downloaded the free Awesome God Radio app, you're missing out, people. Listen, great shows, great music, great sermons. Everything you need is there. Download the Awesome God Radio app. Follow Awesome God Radio on every social media platform. I'm telling you, some amazing things are on the horizon. Some amazing things are already happening, and you want to be tuned in. If you are tuning in on Facebook Live, thank you so much. Hit the like button, leave us a comment, and share it to your page. You know I'll be tuning in. I'll be watching for your comments. Let's have some awesome dialogue. Same with YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube page, Whitney Hogan's, subscribe, hit the like button. You can leave a comment. You can share it. Listen, we are all about you. She Heals. We have an amazing show tonight, and I have an amazing guest. I am so excited. Kiana Katie Caesar. She is an amazing woman of God, and I cannot wait until the second half of the show so that you can hear from her and you can just experience her amazing journey. I'm telling you, you do not want to miss it. So listen, it's a brand new week, you guys. You guys know I'm a teacher by day, and this was the last week of school. So students finished. Shout out to my own children, Quincy, who finished middle school and is transitioning to high school in the fall. Kevin, who finished fourth grade and is transitioning to fifth grade in the fall. For my students, they've all transitioned as well. And today was like my last day of work. I am so excited. I'm excited for the summer. Of course, you guys know I have a business. I have a publishing company. I have a million things going on. So I'll still be pretty busy, but I'm excited for the school year, to close out so that we can get rested and rejuvenated for the fall. And, when I was thinking about this particular school year, all jokes aside, this was the hardest school year of my career. Not even because of COVID-19. Like that was definitely, something that made it exceptionally difficult. But for some reason, this school year was just very difficult for a number of reasons. And I realized that God will make things uncomfortable for you when it is time to grow, develop, and change. And so from the beginning of this school year all the way to the end, it has been very challenging. And I was trying to figure out exactly what the problem was. And I can't even actually put my finger on exactly what was going on. But it just was a difficult year. And so I want to be an encouragement to you guys that sometimes God will make you uncomfortable while you are in process. You are learning, you are shifting, you are growing, and you are changing. And that is why things feel, a little difficult. They feel a little frustrated at times because we are, just doing this, and it's difficult. And so I want you guys to just remember one thing. Regardless if you are on the mountaintop or you are in the deep of the valley, God is with you. God never leaves you. He never, looks at you and says, you know what, that's too much, I'm done. All of us have our own limitations, right? We have our own frustrations. We have that breaking point, right? I am pretty tolerant of things, and I try to understand people and understand, their situations. However, I have a limit. Right? It's only so many times that you're going to hurt me or you're going to mistreat me, then I'm going to eventually back away. But God is different. He does not have a limit. He literally loves us unconditionally. So even when you're in those moments where you're like, God, where are you? I don't see you. I don't feel you. Even when you failed, there's so many things that you might be feeling, but please understand this. You are never alone. God never says, this is it. I'm done with you. That's not how he operates. However, let's have a transparent conversation about how, even though we know the truth that God is omnipresent and he is always with us, how it can feel different. I am sure there are times in your life where you may feel like God is not around. Next weekend, next Sunday actually is the 8th anniversary of my husband's death. And it's amazing how you can be totally fine, but grief has a way of taking you right back to that moment. Like, I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but I can remember the days surrounding the time that my husband died very vividly. And, I just remember that initial shock of him dying, 20 days before his 31st birthday after being sick. I'm 25, our children are 5 and 2. And I just remember that feeling of like, God, you really did that. Like, you allowed that to happen. That was the worst case scenario. That was literally the earth shattering, heartbreaking. There is no way I'm going to recover from this, right? There is no way that if you allow this to happen, I'm going to continue to go on. And I remember those initial feelings of frustration, of anger. I was angry with God. Devastated. What a devastating loss to not just me. I'm only one person, but to everybody that knew him and loved him. And I just was so frustrated with God. And I remember those feelings so vividly. Those nights where I cried myself to sleep. Those, days where I just had anger in my heart towards God. I was angry with him. I'm not talking about, oh God, I'm upset. I'm talking pissed off. I'm talking, God, how dare you take one of the best people that ever graced this planet? How dare you allow my children to lose their dad? And how dare for you to, have my family and those that loved him, have to deal with this loss? Like, God, I'm questioning, where are you in all of this? And, at that time, God gave me the words, the pain is real, but the promise is eternal. And I want to encourage you that even though you may even be in that situation right now where you're feeling like, God, where are you? God, why don't you see what's going on? Do you see the climate of this country right now? Do you see the climate of this world? Do you see what's happening in my home or in my situation? God can sometimes feel so far away, but he is all the more present. And so it's okay to be in those feelings. In fact, I argue that you need to give God all of that. You need to cry out to him. You need to push in and let it all hang out. Like, God is not looking for our perfection. He's looking for our submission. So we've got to lay it all out for him. We have to say, God, here I am. Come and see about me. God, I am angry. I am hurting. This is unfair. You could have done it a different way. Why did you choose this one? Give him whatever is in your mind and your heart. When I look at the climate of this country right now, I'm exhausted. And that has been my prayer. Like, God, I am sick of this. I need you to change the hearts of people. I need you to change things. Like, God, why are you allowing this to happen? I am tired of seeing video after video of my people getting killed. I am tired of being under leadership that is not pleasing to you. I am tired of the way things are, God. Don't you see what's happening? Why do you continue to let this happen? I give that to God. I give it to him. And I don't try to make it pretty. I make it exactly what it is. My truth, my honest heart. And God takes me and he meets me exactly where I am. And if you will do the same thing, if you will cry out to God in the same manner, God will give you everything that you need. He will meet you right where you are. He will provide peace that surpasses our understanding. He will provide comfort in a way that you've never been comforted before. He will be able to give you the next steps and that wisdom and clarity and direction, even in the midst of the storm. But you got to come to him. Here's the other thing. You've got to be in position and you've got to fight. I was talking with a girlfriend earlier this week and we were just kind of pouring into each other, actually. Just both of us have different things going on, and it's good. It's a blessing when you have people in your life that you can pour into and that they will also pour something into you as well. And so we were just chatting and we were talking about, boxing. We love analogies. And we were talking about boxing and we were saying how, in a fight, in the boxing fight, it's not always about having the best skills and being fast enough all the time. Obviously, you have to be trained and well prepared. We know that. But really the thing that pushes you and gives you that edge in boxing is the stamina. Because if you keep in it and you keep fighting and you don't give up, eventually your opponent is going to tire themselves out. And that's when you can go in and make moves, and that's when you can win the fight. And so we are in this fight against the enemy, right? And now we know the fight is fixed, right? We know that we already have the victory because God has already sealed that. However, we still are required to go through the fight because there is things to learn in the fight. There is growth to occur in the fight. So, we really do have to stay in there, right? We have to stay in the fight. But we also know if we stay in it and we keep at it round after round after round, that the enemy is going to tire himself out. And that's when we can go straight to the body and we can win the fight. I was actually watching Creed earlier today, which is one of my favorite movies. And so that was like heavy in my mind that so many of us, we tire out and we tap out before the round is over. But we forget that there are rounds in boxing. So it's not a one, stop shot, unless you get knocked out, of course. But there are rounds. And so a lot of us, we want to go through one thing and we want it to be done. And sometimes things take a process. Sometimes things take several times. You got to go through a couple rounds. You got to work through for that healing. You got to work through. You got to fight through for that breakthrough. And a lot of times we get frustrated and we go weary. But there is methodology in fighting. Here's the first part. You have to know how to rest between the rounds. Fighters do not fight the entire time. You have to remember, they go to their corner, right? At the end of each round, they go to their corner. And what happens in a fight when the round ends and they go to their corner? They go to that corner to restore, to regain focus. That's where their team comes in, right? The moment they sit down, somebody comes with Vaseline to start patching up their face and stuff. Someone comes with a towel to wipe their face off. Somebody comes with water. That coach, that they're boxing coaches right there in their ear, like go to the body this time and hook to the left or hook to the right. They're in there giving that direction, right? And then guess what? Bell rings, it's time to hop back in the fight. So my question for you is, who is your fighting team? Who do you have that when the round is over, when you get that little bit of rest to get you the strength to go to the next round, that's right there to wipe your face off? To be some encouragement, to give you some clear and sound direction. Because here's the thing, the people that are on the outside, they're not just sitting there waiting for you to come for your break so they can wipe your face. They're also watching the fight and they're able to see the things that you can't see because you are in the fight. So you have to be willing to listen, even though you might be tired in that moment, you might be out of breath in that moment, you might be in pain from taking some hits. You still have to have an ear to listen because they're there to tell you and show you what you can't see. They're the ones that are going to say to you, listen, he's been punching with his left fist every single time. This is what you need to do to combat that. You gotta be able to listen, even when you're bruised, even when you're broken, even when you're sweaty, even when the pain is in your body. You still gotta have that ear to that wisdom. You gotta listen to the Holy Spirit. You gotta listen to the leadership that God has given you, not just anybody, but the people that God has put in your corner. You've got to allow them to. You have to actually be vulnerable enough to show them your bruises, to let them see you struggling to catch your breath so that they can come in and help you move to the next round. I can only imagine what it would be like for a boxer to fight 12 rounds or however many rounds, and they have no one in that corner to assist them in between the rounds. The problem is we are always trying to do stuff by ourselves because we are prideful, right? We don't want nobody to check us. We don't want nobody to tell us how to improve our fight. We don't want anybody to tell us when we're not doing something right. We just want to be left alone and we want to get the victory. But really, there's power in between the rounds. And so you've got to have that team there. But guess what? You still got to be focused. That round is only but a minute. That break is not that long. And at any moment in the round, you can get knocked out and the fight is over. It requires a mindset. It requires a determination. It requires you to see it before you see it. You've got to see the victory before you see the victory. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. So you've got to see yourself knocking the opponent down to the ground before you actually do it. And you've got to be willing to take a couple hits. But you've got to be strategic in understanding that the hits are going to come. No boxer is ever going to be fully equipped for the job if they do not learn how to take a hit. If you spend your entire training learning how to hit, and you never learn how to take a hit or how to shift and move so that you don't get hit, you are not prepared for the fight. Many of us want the win and not the fight, but you don't get the win without the fight. So we've got to be willing to learn and to train. I love, anyone that knows me knows I love all the Rocky movies. And I love Creed and Creed 2. I love these movies. And everyone knows that the big part of the movie is that training sequence, right? When you see them do that big, huge training, and it looks crazy, right? Sometimes they're in the desert. Sometimes they're, I was looking at Creed when Michael B. Jordan was literally running, and he was racing the people on the four-wheelers. Like, they're on a four-wheeler, he's running on foot, right? But, it's that energy. It gets you pumped up. You can't watch a Rocky movie and see that training sequence and not get pumped up and excited for the fight. But if you actually are looking at it, it looks really, really hard, right? I don't want to do that training at all. I remember going to Philly last year and walking the steps, that are there. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. And then I remembered in the movie, well, he was running those steps. Like, I'm not going to do that. So we have to prepare. And listen, many of us are in the final rounds. We are so close to the victory, and whatever that is, whatever your victory looks like, whatever God is delivering you from or moving you to or whatever, we're so close, but we don't want to finish. And some of us have the ability to win. We got all the things that look like we should win, but we're not adequately prepared. And that is what gets us trapped. That's what gets us messed up. So you've got to see it before you see it, but you've got to adequately prepare, and you've got to be willing to take a hit. I'm sorry. There is nothing pretty about this walk with God. There is nothing pretty about living in this life in that it's always going to look good. It's not. It's not. I remember as a young kid, there used to be this show called, it's probably still on TLC, called A Baby Story. And I love babies. I love babies. And it would be all about the woman, she's pregnant, and they show glimpses of her pregnancy, and then, of course, the delivery, and then you see glimpses of the baby, right? I used to love watching A Baby Story. Then I got pregnant. And my baby story didn't look nothing like those things I saw on TV. It was ugly. I was sick. I was on bed rest for like 11 weeks, both pregnancies, in and out of the hospital, always uncomfortable, literally having contractions starting at 27 weeks, 24 weeks. I mean, it was an ugly experience, right? It wasn't pretty. And I used to get so frustrated because I'm like, I thought being pregnant was going to look like this. I thought that I was going to have this really cute belly, and I was going to be really pretty. And I thought that I was just going to look good, and it was going to be all feeling the baby kick, and it was going to be beautiful and wonderful. What I didn't intend for, what I didn't expect was when my ribs got bruised because the baby was kicking so much. What I didn't, expect was, when my body looked all over the place and my body was unrecognizable at that time. What I didn't, anticipate is all the things about pregnancy that are very uncomfortable, that people don't actually talk about much. I didn't look at all of that. And so I viewed my experience as ugly because it didn't look like how it looks on the show A Baby Story. But what I had to understand is that A Baby Story is not real life, right? Because they are editing things and they are only shooting certain things at certain times. What we are dealing with is real life, and real life does not always look and feel pretty. And sometimes it looks and feels downright ugly and raggedy. And guess what? We are still in that ring, and we still got to go through the fight. So my question for you today is, do you have enough fight in you to make it through? Do you have enough fight in you to make it through? Many of us think we don't, but it's so amazing that God will pull things out of you that you didn't even know were in you. I remember, again, I said the anniversary of my husband's death is next week. I remember that time so vividly. And I can't even imagine how I could do some of the things now that I was doing then. how I was moving then with little kids. I was in school taking 5 classes a semester with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old that was just diagnosed with autism a few months before my husband died, plus going to see my husband in the hospital, plus, being in school online. So doing my classes at night and working full time. And it was so many things. And of course I had an amazing support system. But when I look back on that time, I'm like, oh my God, you are so faithful. I just remember how chaotic those days used to be and how long those days used to be. And God, I remember that fresh pain when he first passed away. And I was just like, my God, how am I going to make it another second? God, I remember how I thought I never was going to live another moment. And I've now lived 8 years later. And even though my heart still aches, even though he will never be replaced, I see God in my life. I see the promises of God in my life. I see that God told me I'm a defender and a protector of the widow and the fatherless. And I see that he has shown himself faithful in that area, that even though things may get tough, it does not matter. He always brings me through, and I always come out better on the other side than I did before. I have seen how God's promises override the pain. Therefore, I'm okay with getting in the ring and fighting some fights, even though sometimes I'm like, God, haven't I fought enough? I definitely have those moments where I'm like, haven't you seen? I think I should be good. I think my quota for fighting should be met. But even though I may have that attitude sometimes, even though sometimes I might go into the ring kicking and screaming or frustrated or tired, I still get in that ring because I have seen God show up for me. I have seen God take a hit for me. I have seen the hit come and I thought the hit was going to kill me and it bounced off of me. So because I have checked the stats, I have checked the track record of God, I don't have a problem getting in the ring anymore. Even when I don't feel like it, I get in there because I have seen what God can do. You've got to get in the ring. Your stamina is what will have you to win the fight. It's not how good you look in your, fighting gear. It's not that you've got the training from this person or the training from that person. You've got to be able to have stamina to withstand the fight. Listen, people, all I'm trying to say to you is God does have a plan for you, but you have to have stamina to endure the fight, knowing ahead of time that the fight is fixed. You have already won. It's already done. God is not sitting in the stands like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. He already knows what's going to happen. He has already provided the way. He's already provided the outlet. And what I love is, in watching my Rocky movies, is I love that there's always that scene in pretty much every Rocky movie where that one hit comes, right? That one hit that knocks Rocky straight out. And you think in that moment that it's over. Right? You think in that moment, he's not coming up from that. Nope, he's not coming. He's not going to recover. And he gets up and he gets back in. And it's almost like he gets rejuvenated, like this superpower comes over him. And he starts going to the body and he finds his way. And then he finds that opening for that last punch that handles it. Let me say this to you. God will always provide an opportunity for you to win. If you stay in the fight, he will provide ever so slightly the right movement you need to make, the right decision you need to make so that you pivot and you can land that punch that ends the fight in victory. You've got to understand that. But here's the other thing, and this is the thing that's going to trip you up. And don't shoot me because I'm just the messenger. Everybody thinks that the victory is winning the fight. The victory is not always winning the fight. For those that actually follow the Rocky movies, right? At the end of a Rocky movie, you want Rocky to win, right? Everybody wants Rocky to win, right? And so if you notice though, my true Rocky fans, they know that the first Rocky movie, he did not win the fight in the end. He didn't win. Right? But it set him up and it put him in position to win later and to win longer. So you have to remember that the victory is not always what you envision the victory to be. So you may think, okay, my victory is I'm going to get this job. So I'm going to go through all of this, but the end result is I'm going to get this job. And God may say, that's actually not the victory. The victory is not that you're going to get this job. I may not even give you that job. But guess what? All the skills that you acquired in this fight, I'm going to use, and I'm going to give you a better job. Or I may give you a business. But guess what? Your victory is the victory, and it's sealed and it's done. But it may not look exactly how you thought it was going to look, right? So my husband, I thought the victory was going to be him getting another double lung transplant, right? That was the victory I was seeing in my mind. The only way God could fix this situation and that it will end in a win for me was that he was going to get this surgery and he was going to live. That's not what happened. God chose to call him home. He still got the victory though, because he received his heavenly reward. And at the time, I didn't want to hear that. But when I do think about it, I'm so thankful that he didn't receive temporary healing, right? Because he had a transplant before and then got sick again. Who's to say he wouldn't have gotten another transplant and gotten sick again? He got eternal healing, eternal victory, that he'll never suffer from this again. I had to learn to see the victory even when it didn't go according to my plan. And I had to adjust to God's plan. So have eyes to see the victory, however it looks for you. God knows what he's doing, family. He knows. I know it may not seem like he knows. I know it may not feel like he knows. I'm telling you, I have been in some storms. I'm like, God, I don't know what you are doing, but this is not working for me. I know what that feels like all too well. But I'm telling you, if you stay focused, you get the right people around you to support you in your fight, and you recognize that the victory is God's and God's alone, and he is the author of what that victory looks like, you are going to win every time. And even a loss is going to feel like a win. But you've got to be willing to take those hits. You can't take it personal when you get hit in a boxing match. That is the whole goal, right? If I don't like to get hit, I'm certainly not going to become a boxer, right? I'm not going to openly walk into something that's going to require me to get hit if that's not what I like. Some of us need to recognize the reality of what it is that we want in life and what it requires to get it. You know, Pastor Robbie, my childhood pastor, a pastor that I admire so much, he always talks about submitting to the demands of your dreams. He says that a lot. Submit to the demands of your dreams. What that means is it's all cool to have a dream, but you got to submit to the demands of it. In order for that dream to be fulfilled, what do I need to do to get there? I can't say I want to be the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing if I'm afraid to get hit. Because I'm not submitting to the demand of that dream, or if I'm not willing to train. Right now, I want to lose some weight. I want to lose some weight by my birthday. I am going to have to submit to the demand of that dream. That means I'm going to have to look at what I'm eating. I'm going to have to exercise and drink more water. I'm going to have to get some accountability. People that are going to call me and check me and make sure that I'm on that path. It's going to mean that I'm going to have to say no sometimes to the things that I like, the treats that I like, because I have a goal in mind. So you got to submit to the demands of your dreams, but you also have to trust that you are victorious. God absolutely has you in all things, but you got to get in that fight. So family, let's get in the ring together. Let's trust that the victory is ours, but let's be willing to do the fight. As we are now transitioning to the second half of my show, momentarily, an amazing woman of God is joining us. Her name is Kiana Katie Caesar. She has written an incredible book. When you hear the title of this book, it's going to knock you off your feet. I'm telling you, it's amazing. She is actually one of my She Heals authors. So for those that don't know, I have my own publishing company, She Heals Publishing. And Kiana came on board, said she had a vision that God gave her to write a book, and she followed through. She did the work. She got in the ring. And I'm telling you, we were fighting, not each other, but we were fighting this thing and really working hard to make it happen. And I'm telling you, she has done a great work. Her book is called to be Chosen, Not punished. That is a word within itself. Called to be chosen, not punished. She poured her heart out in this. And if you are feeling like you are, being punished by God because of maybe some of the things that has happened to you or happened in your life, this is a moment of encouragement. And as she is logging into the show, she'll be in momentarily. I just want to be an encouragement to you to tell you, you are not punished. The word of God clearly tells us that God knows the plans he has for us. There are plans not to hurt or harm us, but to give us a hope and a future. There are plans to prosper us. Yes. Hello, Kiana.
Hi.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. Sorry, did I come in too soon?
No, you are right on time.
Okay.
Welcome to the She Heals Radio Show author, Kiana Katie Caesar. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. I am super excited that you are here today. I was just sharing how amazing you are. And, I don't know if you heard the first segment of the show, but I was talking about, getting in the fight and fighting through to the victory. And when I say, if I know a fighter, I know you. You did amazing work with this book. And we're going to talk about that in a second, but just being willing to go through and to accomplish something. So first, just share with the She Heals audience just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, for those who may not know who I am, my name is Kiana Katie Caesar. I am a Baltimore native. I am a proud mother of two, a boy and a girl. I am an alumni of CCBC as of 2018. And overall, I'm just a woman with that has an intent to fulfill the righteousness of God through faith and obedience, which is why now I'm the author of Called to be Chosen, Not Punished.
Yes. And so, Kiana, I remember way back when we first started this journey of you sharing that God called you to write a book. And I remember you telling me the title. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That title is saying something. So can you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the book and what led you on this journey?
Yeah, so I was actually fasting for a physical healing. And well, I'll give a little backstory. So I grew up singing in church. My family sung, and it was a big thing for me and a passion was to sing. And when I went into foster care, my great aunt will always tell me, Kiana, don't stop singing. You're going to lose your gift if you don't use it. Make sure you use it. And so I ignored her like teenagers do, kids do. And after I had my daughter, I just ironically started to want to sing again. And so I was reading the Bible and I was reading about how Jesus had raised the dead, raised Lazarus from the dead. And I said, you know what, God? I believe in this. I believe in this so much so that I'm going to fast and I'm going to ask you to heal my voice because my voice had just left. I wasn't practicing and it was just gone. And so during that fast, God has shown me two things he dealt with me with: bitterness and love. And love, I was familiar with that because I had always didn't feel love, didn't really understand why I wasn't feeling love, but I wasn't too sure about the bitterness that God was showing me. So during the fast the other day, I was meditating, I was listening to songs, I was studying, and then God was showing me that I had bitterness within me because my mother died when I was 2 years old. And I had adapted a spirit of rejection, which I didn't even know that I had done that until participating in a conference. And in that conference, it was a conference call. And in that conference, the young lady, the guest speaker, was talking about how those things can happen in our lives from childhood, and we hold on to it, and then we adapt this spirit of rejection. And so I said, "Oh God, all right." So then he began to deal with me and show me how I had victimized myself, right? Because I'm like, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I don't have a mother, no one loves me, no one understands me. And I then became judgmental on the people that were around me. So that wound became infected, and then the infection spilled out in all the other relationships. So I
Mm.
said, okay, God, I get it. I understand. So I went to John, to the Gospel of John, chapter 9, 1 through 3, because I was also doing a devotion. And I read the first three scriptures, and there was a blind man, and the disciples asked Jesus, like, why is he blind? What did he do? What did his parents do? Right? And Jesus said nothing. It was so that the Father would be glorified in him. And when I read that scripture, it was like clear as day in my head, called to be chosen, not punished. So
Yeah.
God revealed in me that he didn't punish me by taking my mother, because I felt like he did, right? I felt like God had like this thing against me, but he was
Yeah.
showing me that I was chosen for that. So he entrusted me with that loss, which I couldn't see, right? Because we think about loss is a bad. It's like loss. No one wants to endure loss, but some loss are necessary. And so he allowed that to happen so that he would be glorified. And that was the means in which he used. And some people may say, oh, well, that was kind of harsh, or, may not understand where I'm coming from. But I know that that's what he revealed to me. And honestly, I would do it all over again. If I had a chance to start life all over again, and if I had the choice to say, well, you can have your mother or don't have your mother. But if that was the means that God used to get the glory out of my life, he could take everybody, because he's supposed to be first anyway. And so he just gave me the title, Called to be Chosen, Not Punished. And then he told me to write a book. So I said, okay, Lord, I'll listen.
Yes. I just remember you sharing that story with me, and or just sharing, your life with me, and I was just blown away. I was blown away. And what I loved the most about it is your eagerness to share. And you know
Hmm.
that many people, transparency, we talk about being transparent, but it's another thing to live and walk it. And how many people do we walk by every day and we have no idea what's behind their smile, what's behind
Hmm.
right? They're going through things just like us, and many might be feeling like they're being punished. So
Yeah.
I'm just so thankful to you for pouring out and being obedient and accepting the call to write.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about called to be chosen, not punished. So you did share a little bit about losing your mom, but just touch on a few other things. Listen, I'm telling you, we're going to put the link to the book in the live. You want to
Okay.
grab this book. People, listen, it is powerful. It's powerful.
Thank
But just
you.
talk a little bit about your journey and how called to be chosen. How did you live called to be chosen?
Well, I lived like I was punished. That was the problem. And so God had to show me that I was chosen. And once I got the revelation that I was chosen, I was able to accept, okay, all right, Lord, this is what you allowed to happen. And so just to go back a little bit about the wound that was created, because I didn't have my parents, my dad died as well when I was 7 years old. And so that wound was infected, and all the insecurities and the feeling of abandonment, although my parents, they didn't have control over whether they died or not, but I still dealt with the neglect and the like not being validated. And so that motivated relationships, whether it was with friends, men, other family members, and it led me to make a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah.
And I think that for the most part of what I want people to get out of the book is to, number one, try to heal together, because I'm still in the process. I'm not healed. I don't have answers in the book as to how to get healed or what to do. The book is really just to demolish the notion that we're punished by God, and really come into the fullness of knowing that we are chosen. And so I ended up in some bad relationships, really bad relationships. Um, my upbringing was very old school at first. And so some of those old school values had a negative impact on me. And I think that I'll be able to relate in that element to even some of the older generation, because I think sometimes as parents, we parent the way we were raised, and it doesn't make it right. And we don't think about the impact that we make on our children. And it was so bad, um, just living like I'm punished, that it affected my relationship with my children. And then some of the same things that were done to me, not intentionally to be wrong, but then I in turn did to my children. So the cycle just went on and on. So I think there will be different elements that the readers can relate to. Not just being an orphan, foster care, bad relationships, just relationships with family members, molestation. I mean, there's a lot of element, a lot of levels to my experiences. So I think people will be able to relate with the variety of experiences that I share in the book.
Absolutely. It's a little absolutely. I think that it's so important that you are willing to share those things because so many people are hurting, right? And they
Yeah.
do have those experiences and they're looking for something. And we
Hmm.
tend to we follow the love. So whatever we think is going to love us is what we attach ourselves to, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not. But talk to me about when you first embraced the love of God. So you've been living like you're punished, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden something changes. Talk to me about that.
Well, first I embraced the fact that I was going to hell if I didn't accept Jesus. So that was the first thing. Because like I said, I grew up under old school values, and my great aunt wasn't playing that. She was like, "Oh no," she had a scripture for every behavior that I did. But it wasn't until I met one of the last foster families that I was with that I had actually seen the love of God lived out in front of me, right?
Mm.
So I didn't know that Jesus loved me. I didn't know that God loved me, right? Because I was still living like I was punished. And then the form of discipline that my great aunt used, it was old school, and it works for some people, but I didn't experience to know God, like having a relationship with him. So when I
Right.
seen them live it out, I was intrigued, and I said, "Oh, okay, I might be able to do this. I'm gonna try a little bit." But that was after the fact of just like really coming to the realization that, okay, I need a savior. I need to be reconciled back to God. And when I seen his love lived out through family members, my foster family, that was the moment for me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try God out. We gonna try Jesus.
And that's all he asks, right? All he wants us to do is give him our yes, right?
Yeah.
It's not as complicated as we actually make it to be. All he's looking for is us to say yes, yes to you, Jesus. And so now you've embraced that love. And I want to ask you specifically about writing. And you and I spoke. I remember at the beginning of your journey, and I was sharing with you, writing. Sometimes you have to like relive some thoughts,
Ooh.
feelings,
Mhm.
and writing process is not like how it is in the movies where they're just sitting at the laptop and they're just all
Mhm.
it's grueling at times. So talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about your writing process.
So my writing process was really, really um emotional. It was raw, and I believe the readers will see that. They'll get a glimpse of where I was mentally and emotionally. But most of all, I would say what was beneficial was praying through the writing. So I
Yeah.
would get to a certain section of the story, and I would have to literally stop and just pray and say, "Okay, God, give me the words to put on the paper." Because I was so emotional, I didn't have it. Because like you said, you relive it, and as I'm writing, I'm reliving it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I went through that. I felt sad for myself. So yeah, just praying, literally just praying, being on my knees, having that support system, being able to call you whenever I had questions or where I was like stuck. That was really helpful. I would say, take your time. Definitely take your time. It's not something that could be rushed, but it is very emotional because you do relive those moments. And like I said, I am not claiming to be healed. I am claiming to be in the process of healing. I'm inviting the readers to heal with me. Let's do this together because we need a community.
Yeah.
We need a community, and we know that the true healing comes from the Father, and then He requires us to do the work. And in doing the work, like you said earlier, you got to have that team. And when you tired of fighting and you get knocked down, you ready to sit down, you have those people that run up and that can cover you, that can pour into you and feed your spirit. So yeah, that's what I would share about the writing process.
Awesome. Thank you. One thing I wanted to is, I don't know why it's so much of that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is in the book, and I don't want to give anything away because it is that good. You need to go read it. But you do share some thoughts about your mom, and you do share some thoughts about, and I just thought it was so beautiful. Just talk about, how you felt as a kid living, without your parents, with them, being gone.
I felt so. First, I'll share how I felt about my mom because it's weird. Some stages of my life, I was angry with her, and I know it wasn't her fault, that she died. But I went through the stage of just being angry, of cursing her. Then I went through a stage of just loving her, missing her. More particularly when I got married. I really began to mourn her when I got married and then when I had children. And growing up, I mean, I felt alone. I mean, I had family members, that were around me, but I still felt empty. Like there was a piece of me missing. There, of course, comes identity issues. Well, who am I? Who do I look like? What attributes of hers will I possess? You know, like, what does she look like? She died when I was 2.5. So the only memory I have as far as like how she really looks is like from old pictures from siblings or other family members. So, I went through life just watching other people live with their mom and just being sad. I can share one experience. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I remember watching a television show, Sister Sister, back in the day, and it was an episode that one of the sisters realized that they were adopted, and so she went and she went on a journey, packed her clothes to go find her family, and I could just remember just gazing into the television and just praying, asking God that, hopefully that was true for me. Hopefully that the family that I was with really wasn't my family so that I could actually go out and find, my mom. It was really, really dark. A very, very dark life, a very lonely life. Um, and I just had to come to the realization that I had to allow her to rest. I didn't allow her to rest. I couldn't live my life. I'm just living. Like this year, just living. I had not lived, although I was living, I was not living.
Yeah.
And so that's what life was without my mother and without my father. Living, but not really living.
Yeah. And how many of us existing but not living?
Yeah.
How many of us are in and you touched on something. Your story was amazing only because so many of us are looking at other people's situations right now. In your case, you're referencing a TV show, but many of us are looking at other people's lives and we're like, "Dang, why couldn't my situation look like that?"
Yes. Like, why didn't she just let me have one parent?
Right. Just
yeah.
And then I can imagine if you're meeting people that have both of their parents or one of their parents, and maybe they're complaining, and you're like, you have no idea.
Yes, no idea. Look, I will take the yelling, the ground me, spank me, but I take it all just to have my mother. Yes, and my dad. But weirdly enough, I mourn my dad, but not as much as my mother.
Mm.
For some reason, I really, really mourned her. more than my dad. I don't know. It's weird. Some of my other siblings, they mourn like my brother that got killed. And then my dad, like we all, we all have a story to share. We all have, grief differently. We all have similar situations, but still have some differences too, of experience as well, growing up without our parents. So yeah. But
go ahead.
Okay, no, I really just wanted to own in on getting a message out that we are chosen for those specific things. We're chosen. We are not punished. And so I would just encourage people not to falsely accuse God, but for getting to know the heart of God.
That's a word.
Yeah.
That is a word. I think that, you just blew me away with that. I think that it requires a certain type of perspective. It requires knowing God and being intimate with God. It requires more than going to church on Sunday, right? This is when you're in relationship with God, right?
Yes.
To get to that place where you say, God, I may not like it. I may not fully understand all of it, but I trust you and I'm here. When you get to that place, there is a peace that literally surpasses all understanding, just as it says in the word, but it's getting there. And so what would you say to the person that they want that? They want that peace, right? But right now they're living in punishment, just as you were.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? Yes, we hear that you're called to be chosen. You're chosen. You're not punished. But what would you say to help that person take the first steps of shifting their mindset to even receive that?
Well, one is first seeking God first, relationship. Not just reading the Bible, not just going to school to get credentials, not just going to church, not just listening to your pastor, truly seeking a relationship, because honestly, that's what holds me together is my relationship. My relationship trumps everything and everybody. So I would just encourage people first to seek a relationship with God. And I know sometimes, because obviously we can't see God, right? And sometimes we need that human touch. So I will also just encourage people to seek out a community of people, like a support system, whether it be counseling, friends, or any type of like groups that are dealing with grief or loss or whatever the situation that they may be experiencing. So that's what I would advise, because that's what I did. And like I said, I'm not completely healed, but I'm doing the work. God requires us to do the work.
Yes, he does. No
yes.
Talk to me a little bit about, what does that work look like?
That work looks like self-reflection, honesty, sweat, tears. Whatever it is for you specifically. For me, that's what it was. Sweat, tears, crying, counseling. I have a vision board. I surround myself with people that can pour into me, people that I can pour into. And also, I find it healing when I serve others.
Yes.
Finding a meaningful cause and just serve. It just makes you feel good about yourself. Just serve, and you'll begin to heal as you help heal others. It's amazing.
Yes. You definitely will. And I think it's so important that you don't hold your story. Some of us, we go through things and we hold it, right? And we don't realize that God is not only going to heal us, but he's going to use what he's given us to heal other people. And so you have to realize that it's bigger than you, right? It's bigger than just your thoughts and your feelings. It's actually all a part of God's plan. And he will take the very thing that you thought was going to take you out, and he will use it to be a blessing to many. And it is just amazing. So Kiana, let's really quickly talk about, where can we get this book? Because listen, this is a book that, of course, I'm biased because I have read it, but when I say that it is powerful, this is, if you're, this is not the book. It's not a book of fluff, right? It's
Right.
real. It's raw. It's transparent, and it is life changing. So talk about, where can we get the book?
So the book is now available on Amazon. On Amazon, and I've included the link on my Facebook account and my IG.
Okay, and we will put your IG info and your Facebook account in the live. We will also put the link for the book in the live. So listen, you guys don't even have to leave the feed. You can just click on it, order it, and then you can reach out to Kiana on Instagram and we'll put her information there. Send her a DM and let her know how much this book has blessed you. Buy the book for you and somebody else. Have a book club with it. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not just saying that because I know you personally, but this book really is powerful. And I am just so thankful, and I am proud of you for doing the work. It is not easy, y'all. And if, for those that are listening, that maybe you're in the midst of the fight of your life, like you are in there and you are getting tired, you're getting frustrated, hold on. God is right there with you. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Hold on and stay in the fight. I promise you, you will come out with the victory. So just stay there. As we are wrapping up the show, Kiana, I told you the time goes by so fast.
Yes. Okay, can I add one thing?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to share that although I am healing, right now I am living in the moment of God being glorified. So that goes along with the text of why Jesus said the man was allowed to be born blind so that God could be glorified. And so me sharing my story, me on here talking about God and the book coming out, God is being glorified. Why? Because people are going to turn to Jesus, and I declare it in the name of Jesus. People are going to start healing, and they are going to start repenting. They're going to fall on their knees and accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and their Savior.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think that I'm just blown away by you and by your story. And one of the things that I admire about you the most is that when you share, you can literally see the peace of God.
Thank you.
That, and I think that in this season, for many of us, we don't need anything that is superficial. We got to see it. We got to see it and we got to feel it. And I can feel God when you share. I can feel God when you, talk about, I can feel him. And my prayer for you, Kiana, is that in this new season, as you have been obedient, because it is not easy doing what you have done, the process of healing, being willing to self-reflect, because that can be really difficult. But also being obedient to the call he has on you. My prayer is that God will pour everything into you that you have poured out double fold. That you will see healing and opportunity and just peace that you have never experienced before. To everybody that is listening, I just want to continue to encourage you. I just feel like somebody is listening that is at the end. They really feel like they're about to lose their mind. And I just want to say directly to you that God has not forgotten you. He sees you. He cares. He cares about the things you care about. And he has not punished you. We know the word of God tells us, Jeremiah 29:11, his plan is to keep you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. So just stay encouraged, stay in the fight, and know that he is with you. Kiana, Katie Caesar, I just want to thank you so much for being on the radio show. I am just in awe of you. I am honored to know you and be in community with you. Every listener, listen, get the book, Called to Be Chosen, Not Punished, by Kiana Katie Caesar. It is on Amazon. We will put the link in the live, but we need you to grab this book today. I'm telling you, it will be a blessing. It will open up conversations. It is an aid to your healing. Kiana, I want to thank you again for being on the show. It is an honor to have you here. Shout out to super producer Q for always taking good care of us here at the She Heals Radio Show. Just a quick brag. Super producer Q is my son, and he finished middle school. He's going to high school. I'm so excited. He's a 13-year-old producer of a radio show for almost 2 years. So kudos to him. To every listener, I pray that you were blessed for this hour, and I pray that you heard exactly what God meant to share for you. Shout out to my Awesome God Radio family. I love you all. In closing, she thinks, she feels, she cries, she prays, she fasts, she draws near to God, she overcomes, and ultimately, she heals. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Have a blessed Friday and a blessed weekend. Take care. See you next week. See ya.